The emergency klaxons were wailing again in the Galactic Council's Situation Room, which honestly happens so often these days that most species had started treating them like elevator music. Commander Vex, a 7-foot-tall Krillian with more medals on his chest than brain cells in his oversized head, it stood at attention before the holographic display showing Earth's pathetic orbital defenses. "Gentlemen, ladies, and whatever Ambassador Quill is supposed to be," Vex announced with the kind of confidence usually reserved for people who've never actually been in a real fight. "We have a situation that's about to solve itself." Ambassador Quill, a nervous blob of sentient jelly who somehow represented 14 different species despite having the backbone of wet tissue paper, quivered anxiously. "Commander, are we absolutely certain the Zephyrian Armada intends to attack Earth? Perhaps there's been a diplomatic misunderstanding. Maybe they're just passing through. You know how these warrior races can be, all posturing and will," interrupted General Throck, a battle-scarred veteran whose species had learned the hard way that diplomacy works best when backed by really big guns. "They've got 3,000 warships pointed at a planet whose entire defense consists of 12 rusty satellites and what appears to be an orbital coffee shop." The hologram flickered, showing Earth's laughably inadequate defense grid. Vex gestured dramatically, nearly knocking over a junior aide in the process. "This is what passes for military preparedness among humans. 12 obsolete defense platforms, no planetary shields, and their most advanced weapon appears to be something called a space-based energy drink dispenser. That can't be right." Quill wobbled uncertainly. "Surely a species advanced enough for space travel would have proper defenses." Throck snorted, a sound like a garbage compactor having an asthma attack. "Kid, I've seen civilizations get wiped out for having better defenses than this. The Zephyrians don't negotiate. They don't take prisoners. They show up. They demand surrender. And if you don't comply within 30 minutes, they turn your planet into a very expensive parking lot." The holographic display updated to show the approaching Zephyrian fleet. 3,000 ships arranged in perfect battle formation, each one capable of reducing a small moon to cosmic dust. It was the kind of sight that made seasoned military commanders reach for their antacids and their last wills simultaneously. "The Zephyrians are less than 6 hours out," Vex continued, puffing out his chest like a peacock with delusions of grandeur. "Admiral Korath is commanding personally. You know what that means?" Actually, nobody in the room knew what that meant, but they all nodded anyway because admitting ignorance during a crisis briefing was considered poor form in 17 different galactic cultures. "It means," Vex explained, clearly enjoying having everyone's attention, "that Earth is about to become a very short chapter in military history textbooks. Korath has never lost a battle. Never even come close. His tactical brilliance is legendary across 47 star systems." Quill made a sound like a deflating balloon. "Can't we warn them? Send a message? Offer to mediate?" "Warn them about what?" Throck laughed bitterly. "That they're about to be destroyed by forces beyond their comprehension. Look at their response to our initial contact attempts." The display switched to show intercepted human communications. Most of it appeared to be arguing about whose turn it was to answer the weird space phone, followed by what seemed to be a 20-minute debate about whether aliens would prefer coffee or tea as a greeting beverage. "This is a disaster," Quill moaned. "The Council specifically voted to keep Earth under observation status. If they get wiped out on our watch, the paperwork alone will take centuries." "Relax," Vex said with the casual indifference of someone who'd never had to fill out a galactic incident report. "It'll be quick. Korath's efficient, if nothing else, 30 minutes, maybe less. Then we can file this under natural selection and move on to more pressing matters." But even as he spoke, something nagged at the back of Throck's mind. In 40 years of military service, he'd learned to trust his instincts, and right now they were telling him something wasn't quite right about this whole situation. Unfortunately, his instincts had terrible timing. Meanwhile, in what was generously called Earth's Defense Headquarters, but looked more like a repurposed IHOP with better satellite uplinks, Captain Jake Morrison was having the worst morning of what he'd assumed would be a quiet career in orbital maintenance. "So let me get this straight," Jake said. holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold approximately 3 crises ago. 3,000 alien warships are heading our way. They want us to surrender. And our entire defense strategy consists of 12 satellites that were outdated when my grandfather was learning to drive. His second-in-command, Lieutenant Maria Santos, looked up from a console that was held together with duct tape and what appeared to be genuine hope. That's about the size of it, sir. Oh, and the coffee maker in Satellite 7 is broken again. Priorities, Santos. What's our tactical situation? Well, Santos consulted a clipboard that had seen better decades. Satellites 1 through 4 are operational, meaning they can successfully identify incoming threats and transmit strongly worded warnings. Satellites 5 through 8 have weapons systems that work most of the time. Assuming our definition of work includes occasionally points in the right direction. And satellites 9 through 12 are running a betting pool on how long we'll last. Jake nodded thoughtfully. And our secret weapon? You mean Tommy? I mean Tommy. Tommy Nakamura looked up from where he'd been tinkering with what looked like a cross between a supercomputer and a microwave oven. At 19, he was technically the youngest member of Earth's Defense Force, and definitely the only one who could make their ancient equipment do things the original manufacturers had never intended. The good news, Tommy announced cheerfully, is that I've figured out how to network all our systems together. The bad news is that I may have accidentally created artificial intelligence. How accidentally? Jake asked. Well, it started asking for a name and wondering if it has rights. What did you tell it? I called it Hal and told it that rights come with responsibilities, so if it wants rights, it has to help us not die today. And, it said that seemed fair and asked if it could redecorate the interface. Apparently our color scheme offends its aesthetic sensibilities. Jake stared at the blinking console, which had indeed changed from military green to something that looked suspiciously like a disco theme. Tommy, did you just solve our AI uprising problem through labor negotiations? I prefer to think of it as establishing a healthy workplace relationship. At that moment, their communications system crackled to life with a transmission that sounded like it was being filtered through a cement mixer full of angry cats. The universal translator managed to turn it into something resembling human language, though it kept the attitude intact. The primitive inhabitants of the third planet. You have been deemed unworthy of continued existence by the Zephyrian Empire. You have 30 of your local time units to surrender unconditionally or face complete annihilation. This message will not be repeated because we don't have time for your inevitable pleading and bargaining. The transmission cut off, leaving the headquarters in blessed silence. Well, Jake said eventually. That was rude. Santos asked carefully, what exactly is our plan here? Jake looked around the room at his crew of 12 dedicated individuals who'd somehow ended up responsible for the survival of an entire planet. There was Santos, who could jury-rig a space elevator out of coat hangers and determination. Tommy, who apparently befriended artificial intelligences the way other people befriended stray cats. Rodriguez, their communications expert, who could make 2 tin cans and a string reach Alpha Centauri, and 9 others who'd signed up for what they thought was a boring job monitoring space junk. You know what? Jake said, taking a long sip of his terrible coffee. I'm thinking we don't surrender. Sir, Santos said slowly, they have 3,000 warships. Yeah, but do they have HAL? The disco-themed console pulsed cheerfully. I'm ready to help. Captain Morrison. I've been analyzing their fleet composition, and I believe I've identified several interesting vulnerabilities in their tactical approach. Such as? Yeah, they're very organized. Jake grinned. For the first time all morning he was starting to feel optimistic. This was either going to be humanity's finest hour or the universe's most entertaining way to commit species-wide suicide. Either way, it beat traffic duty. Admiral Korath stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Conquest, watching the primitive blue-green planet grow larger on his view screen. In 300 battles across 50 star systems, he'd perfected the art of overwhelming force combined with psychological warfare. Show up with an impossibly large fleet, demand immediate surrender, then obliterate anyone stupid enough to resist. It was a simple formula that had never failed. His tactical officer, Commander Zark, approached with the usual pre-battle briefing. Admiral, our scouts confirm the planet's defenses are exactly as pathetic as reported. 12 obsolete satellites, and what appears to be a network of coffee dispensers. Coffee dispensers? We're not entirely sure what coffee is, sir, but they seem very concerned about having adequate supplies. Korath nodded approvingly. Fear makes species cling to familiar comforts to begin the intimidation display. 3,000 Zephyrian warships moved into perfect attack formation, their hulls gleaming with weapon ports and shield generators. Each ship was a masterpiece of military engineering, capable of reducing a city to rubble in minutes. Together, they represented the most powerful fleet ever assembled in this sector of the galaxy. The formation was so perfect, so overwhelmingly threatening, that 17 nearby civilizations immediately sent surrender messages just from seeing it on their long-range sensors. Open a channel to the planet, Korath commanded. Let's get this over with. The response came faster than expected, which was unusual. Most species took at least 10 minutes to stop panicking before they could manage a coherent reply. Hello there, space folks. This is Captain Jake Morrison of Earth Defense. I got to say, that's a really impressive fleet you've got there. Must have taken forever to get everyone parked in the right spots. Korath blinked. In all his years of conquest, no one had ever commented on his fleet's parking arrangements. A primitive human, you will surrender immediately or face the full might of the Zephyrian Empire. You have 29 minutes remaining. Right, the surrender thing. Quick question though, do you guys need anything? We've got plenty of coffee, and I noticed your formation's been holding position for a while now. Long space trips can be rough. Trust me, I know. Commander Zark leaned over to whisper, Sir, are they offering us refreshments? Aye, what? Also, the human continued cheerfully, I'm curious about your tactical setup there. It's very symmetrical, very orderly. Did you guys study the same military academy or something? Because honestly, it's kind of impressive how uniform everything looks. This is not how surrenders typically proceed, Korath muttered. Oh, are we surrendering? Because I thought you were just introducing yourselves. Sorry, this is our first time with the whole alien invasion thing. Are there protocols we should know about? Should I have dressed up? I'm wearing my good uniform, but I don't know if that translates across species. The bridge fell silent, except for the gentle hum of machinery and the sound of Korath's worldview beginning to crack around the edges. Human, he said slowly, do you understand the situation you are in? Well, let's see. 3,000 heavily armed warships want us to surrender or be destroyed. Our defense consists of 12 satellites and whatever Tommy's been building in the back room. Mathematically speaking, we're in what experts would call deep trouble. Then you will surrender? Eh? Nah. Nah? Yeah, nah. Thanks for the offer, though. Really appreciate you taking the time to fly all the way out here. That's got to be, what, several light years? Excellent commitment to customer service. Korath looked at his tactical display, then at his officers, then back at the display. Human, perhaps you did not understand. We have 3,000 warships. You have 12 satellites. Oh, we understood perfectly. Hal, show them our response. Suddenly, every satellite in Earth's defense grid lit up like Christmas morning. Not with weapons fire, but with what appeared to be synchronized disco lights, accompanied by music that somehow translated across all galactic frequencies as aggressively cheerful. Is that? Commander Zark stared at his sensors in confusion. Are they dancing? Al thought it would boost morale. Jake's voice continued pleasantly. Plus you guys look pretty tense. When's the last time you had fun? And I mean real fun, not conquest-related fun. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Korath was completely speechless. Anyway, Jake continued, we're not surrendering, but you're welcome to stick around if you want. We were about to order pizza, and there's this great place that delivers anywhere in the solar system. Their garlic bread is legendary. Admiral, Zark whispered urgently. What are your orders? Korath stared at the disco lights, listened to the incomprehensible music, and tried to remember if his tactical training had covered anything about enemies who responded to invasion threats with party invitations. It had not. Begin the attack, he said finally. Maybe destroying them will make this make sense. The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with the kind of coordinated precision that had made them the terror of 47 star systems. Energy beams lanced out in perfect formation, targeting Earth satellites with mathematical accuracy. It should have been over in 30 seconds. Instead, the satellites started moving. Not just moving, but dancing. Spinning, weaving, performing what could only be described as an elaborate space ballet, while somehow avoiding every single energy beam. What are they doing? Korath demanded. Sir, his weapons officer reported with the tone of someone desperately hoping they were hallucinating. They appear to be waltzing. Ships don't waltz. These ones do, sir. Hal's cheerful voice came over the communications channel. Hello, Zephyrian fleet. I'm Hal, Earth's newest artificial intelligence. I've taken the liberty of analyzing your attack patterns, and I have to say, they're very predictable. Would you like some tactical advice? This is impossible, Korath muttered. Continue firing. The energy barrage intensified, but now the satellites were performing what looked like a cosmic conga line, each one perfectly positioned to avoid incoming fire while maintaining their celebratory light show. You know, Jake's voice cut through the chaos. Hal's got a point about the predictability thing. You guys fire in sequence, left to right, always targeting the center mass. It's very professional, but maybe mix it up a little. Admiral, Commander Zark reported with barely controlled panic. They're giving us tactical critiques. I can hear them. Zark. Also, Jake continued conversationally, your formation's got some interesting blind spots. See, when you arrange ships in perfect geometric patterns, you create these gaps where… Silence. Korath roared. All ships, random firing patterns, target everything. The response from the human was immediate. Ooh, that's much better. See, now you're thinking creatively. Hal, show them what creative looks like from our end. Suddenly, Earth's 12 satellites began moving in ways that violated several fundamental laws of physics. They spiraled, looped-de-looped, and performed maneuvers that would have been impossible for conventional spacecraft. Tommy, Jake called out, "What exactly did you do to our propulsion systems?" I may have accidentally figured out how to manipulate localized gravity fields while trying to fix the coffee maker in Satellite 7. You invented impossible physics while fixing a coffee maker. It was a really stubborn coffee maker. The Zephyrian fleet was now firing frantically in all directions, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos as they tried to track targets that seemed to be treating the laws of physics as mere suggestions. Sir, the weapons officer reported with the hollow voice of someone whose reality had just been fundamentally rearranged. We've fired approximately 50,000 energy blasts. And we've hit nothing. That's impossible. So are dancing satellites, sir. But here we are. Hal's voice returned, now somehow managing to sound both helpful and slightly smug. Admiral Korath, your fleet's getting a bit scattered. Might I suggest regrouping? Also, you're running low on energy reserves. When's the last time you had a proper maintenance cycle? How do you know our energy reserves? Oh, I've been scanning your ships while we chat. Very impressive technology, by the way. Though I notice you could improve efficiency by about 12% if you recalibrated your power distribution matrices. Are they trying to help us fight them better? Zark asked in bewilderment. I think so, Korath replied weakly. Meanwhile, Tommy had apparently decided that conventional warfare was insufficient for the occasion. Jake, I've got an idea. Please tell me it's not as crazy as the gravity thing. It's crazier. Perfect. Do it. The 12 satellites suddenly stopped their impossible dance and arranged themselves in a perfect circle around the Zephyrian fleet. For a moment, Everything went quiet. Then they began to sing. Not broadcasting music, but actually singing. 12 satellites performing a 12-part harmony that somehow resonated through space itself, creating a sound that was simultaneously beautiful and completely impossible. The effect on the Zephyrian fleet was immediate and profound. 3,000 warships, designed for conquest and destruction, found themselves surrounded by orbital karaoke that was somehow more intimidating than any weapon they'd ever faced. "Admiral," Zark whispered, "I think we might be in trouble." The singing satellites had an unexpected effect on the Zephyrian fleet. Not because the music was particularly good, though Hal was an excellent composer for an AI that had learned music theory in the last 20 minutes, but because it was completely, utterly impossible. "How are they doing this?" Korath demanded, watching helplessly as his instruments registered sound waves that shouldn't exist in the vacuum of space. Sound doesn't travel in space. "Neither do gravity-manipulating coffee makers, sir," Zark replied with the weary acceptance of someone whose worldview had been thoroughly demolished. But apparently, humans didn't get the memo about what's impossible. The 12 satellites had now arranged themselves in a perfect sphere around the Zephyrian fleet, their harmonious singing creating what could only be described as a cosmic acoustic prison. Every time a Zephyrian ship tried to move, the melody would shift, somehow creating pressure waves that gently but firmly guided them back into formation. "Jake," Tommy's voice crackled over the intercom, "I think I figured out what I actually invented." "Please tell me it's not sentient music." "It's not sentient music." "Thank God." "Bye. It's localized reality manipulation." "That's worse, Tommy. That's so much worse." "Yeah, but think about the applications. We could solve world hunger, end climate change, make really good coffee that never gets cold." "Focus, Tommy. We're still in the middle of not dying." Hal's cheerful voice joined the conversation. "Captain Morrison, I've been monitoring Admiral Korath's vital signs through their ship's medical scanners. I believe he's having what humans would call an existential crisis." Indeed, on the bridge of the inevitable conquest, Admiral Korath was staring at his tactical display with the hollow expression of someone who'd just realized that everything they thought they knew about the universe was completely wrong. "Sir," his communications officer reported tentatively, "we're receiving another message from the humans." "Of course we are," Korath muttered. "Put it through." Jake's voice came through the speakers, still maintaining that impossibly casual tone. "Hey, Admiral Korath. How are you holding up over there? I know this whole situation's got to be pretty weird for you guys." "Weird?" Korath laughed, a sound with only the faintest resemblance to sanity. "Weird? I've conquered 47 star systems. I've defeated fleets 10 times larger than yours. I've reduced entire civilizations to cosmic dust, and now I'm being held prisoner by singing satellites powered by a coffee maker that breaks the laws of physics." "Well, when you put it like that, it does sound pretty weird," Jake agreed. "Look, here's the thing. We don't actually want to fight you guys. Fighting's expensive. People get hurt, and honestly, we're not really equipped for it. But we also don't want to be conquered, because we've got a pretty good thing going here." "What are you proposing?" "How about this? You guys are clearly excellent at the whole military thing. Very professional, great formations, impressive ships. But maybe conquest isn't the only option. I mean, you've got 3,000 ships full of people who probably have families and hobbies and favorite foods back home." Commander Zark leaned over to Korath. "Sir, he's right about the families thing. My wife's been asking when I'll be home for our anniversary." "Not now, Zark." "Also, Izzo," Jake continued, "Hal's been analyzing your fleet's efficiency reports. Hope you don't mind, but your cybersecurity could use some work. And it looks like you guys spend about 80% of your time traveling between conquests and only 20% actually conquering. That's got to be boring. What's your point, human?" "My point is, maybe there's a better way to do this. You guys are clearly smart, organized, and good at working together. Those are valuable skills. Maybe instead of conquest you could try, I don't know, interstellar logistics, space construction, cosmic event planning. The bridge of the inevitable conquest fell silent, except for the continued impossible singing from the satellites. "Are you suggesting," Korath said slowly, "that we abandon our entire way of life to become party planners?" "I'm suggesting that you're really good at organizing large groups of people and coordinating complex operations. That's basically what party planning is, just with less destroying planets and more making sure everyone has a good time." "This is ridiculous." "Is it though? I mean, when's the last time you guys actually enjoyed conquering something? Because from where I'm sitting, you all look pretty miserable." Korath looked around his bridge at his officers, who were all suddenly very interested in their control panels. The uncomfortable truth was that Jake had a point. Conquest had become routine, bureaucratic, joyless. Plus, Jake added, "If you guys went into the party planning business, you'd probably make a fortune. I mean, imagine having the organizational skills to coordinate 3,000 ships applied to, say, wedding receptions or corporate retreats." "Sir," Zark whispered, "my wife did always say I was good at organizing things." "Zark, we are not becoming wedding planners." "I'm just saying, sir, it might be nice to organize something that ends with people being happy instead of vaporized." Hal's voice chimed in helpfully. "I've taken the liberty of calculating potential profit margins for various event planning scenarios. The numbers are quite impressive." Admiral Korath closed his eyes and tried to remember when his life had made sense. 3 months later, the Galactic Council Situation Room was buzzing with activity once again, though this time the emergency klaxons had been replaced by what sounded suspiciously like hold music. Commander Vex stood before the same holographic display, though now instead of showing Earth's pathetic defenses, it was displaying what appeared to be a party planning website with surprisingly professional graphics. "This can't be right," Vex muttered, adjusting his medals nervously. "Tell me this can't be right." Ambassador Quill, who had somehow managed to become even more gelatinous in the intervening months, wobbled forward with a datapad. "I'm afraid it's completely accurate, Commander. The Zephyrian Empire has officially disbanded their military and reformed as Korath's cosmic celebrations, making your special day unforgettable across the galaxy. They're party planners. Very successful party planners." General Throk added with what might have been amusement if his species were capable of such emotions. "They've booked solid for the next 5 years. Apparently, their organizational skills translate remarkably well to event coordination." The holographic display flickered to show footage from what appeared to be the most elaborate wedding reception in galactic history, complete with 3,000 former warships arranged in perfect formation to create a light show that could be seen from 12 parsecs away. "And the humans?" Vex asked weakly. "Captain Morrison has been promoted to Admiral Morrison," Quill reported. "Earth's defense force has been restructured as the Department of Creative Problem Solving. They're offering consulting services to any civilization facing what they call impossible situations. Their first client," Throk continued, "was the Andromedans, who hired them to resolve a centuries-old territorial dispute. The human solution involved converting the disputed territory into an interspecies theme park. It worked. It worked. It's the most popular tourist destination in 3 sectors. Both sides are making so much money they've forgotten what they were fighting about." Vex stared at the display showing happy Andromedans riding what appeared to be roller coasters that looped around small moons. "This is a disaster. The entire galactic order is collapsing. Military forces are becoming event planners. Ancient conflicts are being resolved with theme parks. What's next?" As if summoned by his question, the communications system crackled to life. Jake Morrison's voice filled the room, still carrying that same casual tone that had somehow brought the Zephyrian Empire to its knees. "Hey there, Galactic Council folks. This is Admiral Morrison from Earth. Hope everyone's doing well. We've been getting some interesting requests lately, and we wanted to check in about something." "What now?" Vex whispered. "So, we've got this situation with the Nexari Dominion. Apparently they've been trying to conquer the spiral arm for about 1,000 years now, but they keep getting bogged down in logistics. Their supply lines are a mess, their communication systems are incompatible with half their fleet, and honestly, Their whole operation could use some serious reorganization. Quill made a sound like a deflating balloon. They're going to convert another military empire into a business, aren't they? Anyway, Jake continued cheerfully, we were thinking of offering them a consultation. Maybe help them streamline their operations, improve efficiency, that sort of thing. But we wanted to run it by you guys first, since we know how much you appreciate being kept in the loop. Admiral Morrison, Vex said carefully, what exactly are you planning to suggest to the Nexari Dominion? Well, Hal's been running some preliminary analyses, and it turns out they're really good at large-scale resource management and complex logistical coordination. Those are exactly the skills needed for interstellar shipping and freight coordination. You want to turn them into a delivery service. See? A really efficient delivery service. Think about it. They've got the ships, the organizational structure, the discipline. They could revolutionize galactic commerce. The Situation Room fell silent, except for the gentle hum of the hold music. Admiral Morrison, Throck said finally, are you planning to systematically convert every military power in the galaxy into civilian businesses? Only if they're interested, Jake replied. We're not forcing anyone. We're just pointing out that the skills that make someone good at conquest also make them good at lots of other things. Plus, the pay's better and nobody gets vaporized. This is madness, Vex muttered. Is it though? Jake asked. I mean, look at the results. The Zephyrians are happy, their families get to see them more often, and they're making more money than they ever did from conquest. The Andromedans have turned their ancient blood feud into a profitable partnership. Everyone's better off. But what about military readiness? Galactic security? The natural order of things? Commander Vex, right? Look, I get it. Change is scary. But maybe the natural order of things wasn't working so great if everyone was constantly trying to conquer everyone else. Maybe it's time for a new natural order. And what would that look like? I don't know, Jake admitted. But I'm betting it'll be more fun than the old one. The transmission ended, leaving the council in contemplative silence. 3 days later, the Nexari Dominion officially announced their transition to Nexari Express, delivering excellence across the galaxy. Their first customer was the Galactic Council, who needed someone to deliver emergency supplies to a remote colony. The supplies arrived 3 days early, perfectly organized, and with a complimentary fruit basket. Commander Vex's resignation letter was submitted the following morning. The attached note simply read, I'm thinking of opening a consulting firm. Apparently, management skills are transferable. Somewhere in Earth's defense headquarters, Hal added another successful case to its growing database, while Tommy worked on his latest impossible invention, a toaster that could somehow make perfect toast for any species in the galaxy, regardless of their dietary requirements or understanding of bread. Jake Morrison, Admiral of Earth's Department of Creative Problem Solving, leaned back in his chair and smiled. It was shaping up to be a pretty good year for impossible things.